Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Gary Talks, and today I'm going to be talking about the Planet of the Apes franchise. I'm going to rank all 10 movies, as well as talk to some of the people involved with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, director Wes Ball, and cast members Owen Teague, Kevin Durand, and Peter Macon. Now, if you had told me maybe, 15 years ago that the Planet of the Apes franchise would be as beloved as it is, I wouldn't have believed you. I mean, it was a fun franchise from the, late 60s, early 70s. A lot of us knew as kids, and then we had the Tim Burton remake, but you never really would have thought that people wore shirts, people talked, that the movies would sell out. And that was all due to the reboot of the franchise that came with new CGI graphics, great performance capture acting, and really just piqued the interest of the entire world in the Planet of the Apes. And really, before we get into my ranking of all the movies in the franchise, let's talk to the director of the newest movie, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and that's Wes Ball. Good morning, Wes. Thank you for being a part of this special Planet of the Apes episode of Gary Talks. I want to let you know I loved Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but I want to know what drew you to making this fourth film in the reboot of the franchise.
I thought it would be a mistake to just do a part 4. To try to somehow just do another one and essentially fail at doing that, because it will just diminish sort of what was there before. And I think the fact that we took this leap forward to kind of do our own thing but still stay true and honor to not just the previous trilogy but all the movies that have come before us, and that we still kind of fit into the world. And that's been kind of our challenge, I think, is to walk that line of to be original and entertaining and new, but still feel like we fit into the big puzzle, the big tapestry of these movies. So I hope people will appreciate kind of a new tone, a sort of a new sense of kind of scale and scope, and sort of entertainment value, but still, we still try to be, it's a sci-fi movie with big concepts, with big ideas.
Yeah, well, but when you're making a movie that's fourth in this reboot franchise, like 10th overall, and you're following up the two that Matt Reeves made that were great, how do you make yours different?
I've been doing post-apocalyptic setting stuff for quite a while now, actually, even before I became a director. I've been making shorts that have been following this stuff. And I've always liked the romantic notion of starting over, of something new happening, right? And so I didn't want to do kind of the smoldering ashes of a world thing. And obviously, and I think in Dawn and War in particular, you do kind of set up this idea that mankind is on their last breath, essentially, and infrastructure is almost gone, and you leave that last movie with essentially seeing humans destroying themselves in a final kind of battle. And so I thought what was going to be really fun is to have a big cut, in our case, a couple hundred years, where what would happen when humans are gone, essentially. And the setting is really like in the remains of our world. And I love the idea that buildings and what's left of buildings anyway are crumbling away, and glass doesn't exist anymore because it's all broken out through the erosion in time. And I love the idea of just, the world is transforming back into this landscape, essentially. And so we were going to start the movie that way too, where these mountains that we find a bunch of apes climbing, they're actually buildings, but they're overgrown with trees, whole giant trees that are growing out of these things, and it creates these really kind of beautiful to look at, but also kind of haunting underneath this sort of memory of what our greatness, humanity's greatness.
Well, I loved it. I thought it was great. Thank you so much for being on this episode of Gary Talks.
Thanks, dude.
Let's start with number 10. It's the worst of the franchise. It has its moments, but it's one that I very rarely ever rewatch. And that is Tim Burton's remake of Planet of the Apes. Tim Burton's 2001 Planet of the Apes remake is a visually striking but narratively uneven film. What does it do well? The film excels in its production design and makeup, creating a vividly realized world of apes with impressive practical effects. And that's about it. Mark Wahlberg stars as Leo Davidson, an astronaut who crash lands on a planet ruled by intelligent apes, while the cast, including Helena Bonham Carter and Tim Roth, deliver commendable performances. The script often falters, lacking the depth and social commentary of the other ones. The plot twists, especially the ending, are horrible and feel more like a gimmick than a meaningful conclusion. Overall, Burton's take is an entertaining spectacle, but it doesn't quite capture the essence of the original's thought-provoking narrative, which puts it squarely as the weakest in the franchise. Coming in at number 9 is what I think is the worst of all of the original Planet of the Apes movies, and that is Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Battle for the Planet of the Apes, released in 1973, is the fifth and final installment in the original series. Directed by J. Lee Thompson, the film attempts to conclude the saga with a story of hope and reconciliation. Ceasar, played by Roddy McDowall, leads a society where apes rule after a nuclear apocalypse. Ceasar wants to have peace with the conquered humans, while others want to see them imprisoned and turned into slaves. The film explores interesting themes, but thanks to the super low budget, the execution feels rushed and underdeveloped. And, thanks to those budgetary limitations, the effects and action sequences are far less impressive than in earlier entries. Despite its flaws, McDowall's performance is really good, and the film provides a somewhat satisfying conclusion to the series arc. Coming in at number 8 is a movie I remember hating as a kid. Now, you didn't really hate a lot of movies when you were younger, but this one, for whatever reason, I just couldn't stand. And that is Beneath the Planet of the Apes. 1970's Beneath the Planet of the Apes is the second film in the series. Directed by Ted Post, it picks up where the original left off, following another astronaut, Brent, as he searches for Charlton Heston's character, Taylor, and discovers an underground world of mutated humans who worship a nuclear bomb. The film is darker and more surreal than its predecessor, delving into themes of war, religion, and destruction. But Charlton Heston's star power is severely missed. The special effects and makeup remain impressive, however. The pacing is uneven, and some plot elements feel underdeveloped. That ending, though. If the original had a big twist, this one blew that ending away. Literally. This could be the most shocking and bleak ending of a movie ever, and seemed as if they wanted to make sure that there were no more Planet of the Apes films.
In one of the countless billions of galaxies in the universe lies a medium-sized star, and one of its satellites, a green and insignificant planet, is now dead.
But of course, there were 8 more, and the franchise is still going strong. Next up, another of the original group of Planet of the Apes movies, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes is the 4th film in the original series, but would be the 2nd in the original timeline, as it follows up the prequel, Escape from the Planet of the Apes. You still with me? Directed by J. Lee Thompson, it follows Ceasar, played by Roddy McDowall, who is the son of Cornelius and Zira. As all apes are now pets and servants to humans, he leads a revolution against the oppressors. Honestly, it's the closest in tone to the reboot franchise, as it's darker and more intense, focusing on themes of slavery, rebellion, and civil rights. While the budget constraints are noticeable, particularly in the action scenes, the film's raw energy and emotional depth make up for it. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes stands out for its bold narrative and thought-provoking messages, and on my ranking, it's where the movies start to move from decent to really good. Coming in at number 6 is the newest movie in the franchise, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
What a wonderful day!
What a wonderful day!
Are we thankful for the words of Caesar?
We are thankful.
Do we bend our heads?
We bend.
I thought that the reboot trilogy ended perfectly after War for the Planet of the Apes, but I was happy to hear that Kingdom would continue that storyline. It's set hundreds of years after Caesar's death, and he has now become something of a mythical and religious figure. But as happens often, his message is twisted by those in power, specifically by warlord Proximus Ceasar. After his apes raid the home of a young ape, Noah, and kidnap all the other apes that survive, he goes on an adventure to not only save them, but to learn the true nature of Caesar, and if humans are worthy of saving. While it's not as strong as the other movies since the reboot, it's still a great time, and ends with an interesting setup for future movies. I'm hoping that at some point we are finally introduced to Taylor as well, as it seems like we need to really merge the original series and the reboot. For the record, just because I ranked Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes at number 6 doesn't mean that I didn't love it. I did. And I recently had a chance to sit down and talk to a couple of the actors involved in the movie. Kevin Durand, who played Proximus Ceasar, and Peter Macon, who played Raka. Thank you guys for being a part of the All Planet of the Apes episode of Gary Talks, and these roles that you guys did were very physical, very demanding. Was that something that drew you to this movie?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. My dream was always to be able to fully immerse myself and create very, very different humans. And in this case, I got to create this bonobo. And the idea of trying to figure out how to filter my humanity through this different anatomy, this different physiology, this different psychology was such a great challenge. And gotta admit, it felt really, really good to get into our characters. And when we were all interacting as apes, it felt incredibly natural and really quite wonderful, to the point where, you know, they gave us an ape school before we started shooting. We really could have used a human school so that we can integrate back into society.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Wes earlier in the show, and I asked him a question that I would like to get your take on. What do you guys do to separate this movie from all the others in the franchise?
Well, you know what's great about this particular film, this installment of the franchise, this new chapter, is the presence of nature, and what 300 years from now or abouts would look like if human beings are no longer the apex predator, like no longer on the top of the food chain. And it's such a lush, green, beautiful and decayed. So it's like decay and new growth happening over that decay. So
The decay of the human imprint.
right,
The world,
the skyscrapers,
reborn.
the building. It's really, truly Mother Nature reclaiming itself.
Yeah.
And it's a character in this film.
God. You know what
Go
I
ahead.
also really enjoyed was to see the Earth so incredibly healthy. That human imprint had been was being removed, rebirthed. So it almost has a feeling of like, you know, what we would imagine Eden would have been like.
Yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that. Kevin, I just gotta let you know, got a fanboy out here for a minute. Proximus Ceasar was by far my favorite character in the whole movie, especially when you said, evolution!
Yeah.
How did you come up with this character?
For me, it started off with Owen, and I had been doing a lot of thinking about humanity and the history of Homo sapiens, and I wanted to teach this young ape fiercely about why we can't let humans gain power again. And I saw the shift in his eyes, where he understood that where I was coming from was a place that he wanted to know more about. And there was this fierce kind of sense of hierarchy that arose out of those situations. So we all got to know each other as apes first, and Ape School really did continue throughout the entire shoot, really, and continues to this day, where we still all greet each other as apes. Rather than saying, "Hi, how are you?" we go, "Oh, oh, 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 oh. It's nice to see you, although I disagree with your philosophies."
Well,
Yes.
there is room for improvement. There's room for growth, my friend.
Yes,
Just
okay.
calm yourself. Breathe in through
Yes.
your nose and out through
Yes.
your mouth. Take your time. Take in the world as you see it.
He does not mean to sound so condescending.
Oh, condescending. That's not a word that's in my vocabulary. Yeah, so it's here, and it's to the where we can just, jump in and,
Live and
really
breathe as apes.
Yeah, and communicate with each other through being an ape, and that's a pretty neat thing, and it doesn't go away. I don't think ever. I don't know
No.
that I'm ever gonna stop once I've learned, like, this is in my body, it's in my cells, like
Heck yeah. Apes till we die.
apes till we die.
Well, I think that wraps up the amount of time they gave
Just
me.
one last thing I wanted to add.
Oh, yeah, sure.
This film can be digested in many different ways. So if you are feeling like you just want pure escapism and just, disappear into these beautiful vistas following this gorgeous story of really it's the journey of a hero, and it's the hero's journey. You can just go and do that, and if you choose to look between the lines and engage in all of the potential different themes, the different things that are happening in this world right now, you can do that, and you could go as deep as you like, and because it's such a rich world to be a part of. So I just encourage you to sit down and just enjoy it in all its splendor.
Awesome. Great interview. Thank you guys so much for being on Gary Talks.
All right.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
That was amazing, especially when they started doing their ape voices. I was kind of a little starstruck when Proximus Ceasar started talking. I loved him. And like I said, evolution gets me every single time. Coming in at number 5 is Escape from the Planet of the Apes, the third film in the original series, which served as a prequel to the original 2 movies. When I was a kid, this was by far my favorite of the movies, as it was awesome just to see apes in modern-day New York. The story follows Cornelius and Zira as they fled their doomed future and arrive in 1970s America, where they initially become celebrities, but soon face persecution. The film shifts from the dark tone of the last 2 to a more satirical and comedic approach, exploring themes of xenophobia, scientific ethics, and destiny. McDowell and Hunter deliver heartfelt performances, adding emotional depth to their characters' plight. Despite some dated elements, the film's clever premise and engaging narrative make it a standout in the series.
And now, another episode of Professor Gary's Knowledge Corner.
If you want to watch it in order, this is the way you have to go. First, you start with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This is how you find out that Caesar and all the apes are able to talk, and people start to lose the ability to speak, and everyone dies off. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. People that's left try to get along with apes, they can't. Then they have War for the Planet of the Apes. Caesar dies. Then you have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. 600 years in the future, apes are beginning to take over, but there are some people left. Then we go to Planet of the Apes. This is even further in the future. Then an astronaut lands on the planet, finds out that it's Earth. Then we have Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and they blow the place up. Then we go to Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Then these apes go back in time, but not to this time. They go to a different timeline, but not this timeline, because this one has nothing to do with anything. So they go to this timeline. Then we have a different Caesar, not the same Caesar from here, but a different Caesar, but it's kind of the same Caesar. And then this Caesar leaves the Planet of the Apes, which leads to this one. So then you go from this one to this one, and this one, and this one, and I don't know. You got to figure it out for yourself.
This has been another episode of Professor Gary's Knowledge Corner.
Now we'll move to number 4, and this is the first of the reboot franchise to show up on my list. So as you can tell, since there's 4 movies left and there were 3 of the reboot, I really loved the reboot. But the one that I didn't love as much as the others was War for the Planet of the Apes. 2017's War for the Planet of the Apes, directed by Matt Reeves, is the 3rd film in the rebooted series and a powerful conclusion to Caesar's saga. The story follows Andy Serkis's Caesar as he grapples with inner turmoil and leads the apes in a final struggle against a ruthless colonel, played by Woody Harrelson. The film explores themes of vengeance, sacrifice, and the quest for peace. Serkis's motion capture performance, as always, is exceptional, bringing profound humanity to Caesar. The cinematography and visual effects are stunning, creating an immersive and visually striking world. The narratives balance intense action with moments of quiet reflection, making the stakes feel personal and epic. War for the Planet of the Apes is a gripping and thought-provoking film that serves as a fitting and poignant end to the Caesar trilogy, solidifying the reboot series as a standout in modern science fiction cinema. Now comes the original, the one that started it all. And I think this is one that, a lot of people might disagree with, especially older people that were around when this movie first came out. They remember what it was like to be shocked by the ending. Anyone in my age or younger, by the time we saw the movie, we already knew what the ending was. But still, the original Planet of the Apes is a fantastic science fiction movie and it comes in at number 3.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
The original Planet of the Apes, directed by Franklin J. Schaffner, is a groundbreaking science fiction classic. You all know the story. Charlton Heston is Taylor, an astronaut who crash lands on a mysterious planet where intelligent apes dominate and humans are enslaved. The movie is renowned for its innovative makeup, creating convincing and memorable ape characters. It explores deep themes such as evolution, society, and the nature of humanity with a sharp, satirical edge. The narrative builds to one of the most iconic and thought-provoking twist endings in cinema history. Planet of the Apes is not only a thrilling adventure, but also a profound commentary on human civilization, making it a timeless piece of cinema that has influenced countless films and remains relevant today. Before I get to my favorite 2 movies in the franchise, let me share with you my interview with the star of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Owen Teague. We are now joined by Noah himself, Mr. Owen Teague. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
I was talking to Kevin and Peter earlier, and they mentioned Ape School. I wanted to find out a little more about that. What was that like?
We had to get up in Ape School and become our ape character, get into our forms. And it was the first time that I had spoken as Noah. And I had no idea what the voice was going to be, other than, I'd read the script and I'd done that kind of stuff, but we hadn't really explored anything ever. And then we started doing these improvs where, like, we would be in a room and we would throw a ball back and forth as apes with, the kind of hands that apes have. We would just toss a ball. And it began, what I'm describing is the first instance of this, but it started happening almost every day, where we would do an exercise and that exercise would grow into an improvisation that had no, setup. It wasn't like, okay, you are going to do this and here's the situation, go. It was just like, we're tossing a ball back and forth and suddenly we're trying to get it from each other, and now we're putting it on each other's heads, and now we're chasing each other, and now the whole room is in a frenzy of playing with these tennis balls.
I mean, I thought it was simply awesome. I don't know how you were able to pull off a performance like that with just performance capture and tennis balls and, the crazy stuff you did with dots on your face. It was mind-blowing. We've been talking about all the movies, and I have to say that I don't think we'd be talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes or even Planet of the Apes anymore if it weren't for Andy Serkis. Did you have a chance to meet him or work with him or anything like that?
I think it's the only time I've ever been truly starstruck. I think the first time we met on Zoom, he thought I was a little strange because I just forgot how to function as a person. But he was so, of course, he was so brilliantly helpful in helping us, find our characters and helping us tweak our characters and look at how the technology works with what we're doing. But beyond that, he was kind of instrumental in us creating this world for ourselves of, where this planet of apes is now. We would have these long discussions with him about our characters and our backstories and who we are and what our society is, and he would ask these questions. And we all, all of us apes kind of looked at each other afterwards being like, wow, no wonder he's who he is, because he's asking things that none of us even thought of.
That's great. I mean, like I've said numerous times in this broadcast, I loved Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I can't wait to see what you do in the next installment. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Now at number 2, this one's going to be controversial. So a lot of you are going to say the original was the best movie, and the majority of you that don't say that would say that this one was the best movie, but for me, it was just number 2, and that was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Caesar has no place here. Apes follow Koba now. Follow Koba to war.
Matt Reeves' Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is a masterful continuation of the rebooted franchise, combining stunning visual effects, powerful performances, and a nuanced exploration of themes like trust, leadership, and the thin line between civilization and savagery. This film not only builds on the success of its predecessor, but also deepens the narrative and emotional stakes, making it one of the standout entries in modern science fiction. Andy Serkis's portrayal of Caesar is nothing short of revolutionary. Utilizing motion capture technology, Serkis imbues Caesar with a profound sense of wisdom, strength, and vulnerability. The supporting cast of apes, including Toby Kebbell as the vengeful Koba, also deliver remarkable performances. Koba is a tragic figure scarred by human cruelty and driven by a relentless desire for revenge. The dynamic between Caesar and Koba highlights the film's central theme, the struggle between forgiveness and vengeance. On the human side, Jason Clarke as Malcolm provides a nuanced performance as a man caught between two worlds. Malcolm is empathetic and hopeful, striving to build a bridge of understanding between humans and apes. Gary Oldman's Dreyfus, representing the more fearful and militant human perspective, adds a layer of complexity, highlighting the fear and desperation that drive many of the film's conflicts. Reeves' direction is meticulous, balancing intense action scenes with quieter, character-driven moments. The film's pacing is deliberate, allowing for the development of its themes and characters without sacrificing the excitement and tension. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is a triumph of modern filmmaking, offering a thought-provoking and emotionally rich narrative set against a backdrop of stunning visual effects and intense action. It's a powerful exploration of leadership, trust, and the fragile nature of peace. Only one movie left to be my number one, and it's the one that really got me back into this franchise. It made me fall in love with Andy Serkis's Caesar, and, in what world is a movie that stars James Franco ever going to be my favorite of anything? The number one movie in the Planet of the Apes franchise, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, released in 2011 and directed by Rupert Wyatt, serves as a compelling reboot and origin story for the iconic franchise. The film stars James Franco as Will Rodman, a scientist developing a cure for Alzheimer's, who inadvertently creates a superintelligent ape named Caesar, played brilliantly by Andy Serkis through groundbreaking motion capture technology. The narrative is emotionally engaging, exploring themes of intelligence, freedom, and the ethical implications of scientific experimentation. The relationship between Will and Caesar forms the film's emotional core, driving the plot toward a powerful and dramatic climax.
Caesar is home.
The special effects are outstanding, bringing Caesar and his fellow apes to life with astonishing realism. Rise successfully reinvigorates the series, providing a fresh and thought-provoking take on the origins of the ape uprising while setting the stage for all the films. It's here that so many seeds are planted that still pay off in the new reboot series, from Caesar's bedroom window to Koba's hatred of humans and Caesar's emotional turmoil, loving both ape and human equally. And, if you pay close attention, you will see on the news that 3 astronauts take flight on a space mission, and later are revealed to be lost. We can only assume that one day, those astronauts will return through a wormhole or something and end up on what is now a Planet of the Apes. And I can't wait for that one day to happen. There you have it, my ranking of the Planet of the Apes movies. I'd like to thank all the special guests I had: Wes Ball, Kevin Durand, Peter Macon, and Owen Teague. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is really fun. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's still in theaters, and it will be hitting DVD, 4K, Blu-ray later this summer. So be sure and check it out. And be sure and join me next week when I'm discussing cult movies with my special guests Jordan Peele, Dev Patel, and Keith Coogan. See you then.
From capes to tapes, Gary's on